Greetings everyone, it's Matt Dickinson here, and I'm very pleased and very proud to have been asked by Harrow Libraries to be your host for the Harrow Summer Reading Challenge, and also to introduce the theme of this summer, which is Silly Squad. And it's a really great theme which fits in perfectly with my books, The Popcorn Eating Squirrels, which, if you haven't heard of them yet, you're definitely going to hear about them in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so in this video. And I've done lots of events in Harrow. It's always been a pleasure to be in this part of London. Harrow is a beautiful and really interesting part of London. You've got that spectacular church there up on the top of the hill. Connections to some really famous writers, of course. Some famous poets as well, including Byron. And so this part of London has got some really incredible connections to writers and writing, which makes it extra special for me to be invited to be a part of your Harrow Libraries Summer Reading Challenge here. So I thought I'd start off by looking at the question of, what have writers been doing during the lockdown? I'm wondering what you have been doing during the lockdown. I wonder if you've been doing some writing. I wonder if you've been doing some illustrating. Because of course it's actually been a perfect opportunity to do those things. And for me, what I've been busy doing as a writer during the lockdown period, I had a look at the first edition of the Popcorn Eating Squirrels series. I had a look at the second edition, and I'd had lots of emails from readers asking, is there going to be a third one? So what I've been doing is busy finishing off the third edition in the Popcorn Eating Squirrels series, and that's called The Popcorn Eating Squirrels Go Nuts with the Dinosaurs. And the really exciting thing for me, of course, as a writer, is that book is going to be coming out very, very soon. In fact, in the first week of September, that book is coming out, and that'll be a fantastic moment for me, because there's nothing more exciting for a writer than having that fantastic moment when you hold the book in your hands for the very first time. So I thought with this first video, I'd tell you a little bit more about the series, introduce the theme of Silly Squad, which is the Harrow Libraries summer theme that we're going to be exploring. And the Popcorn Eating Squirrels fit perfectly into that. When I was a young reader, I loved more than anything was really, I liked adventure books, and I also liked comedy books. I liked them equally. I could just as happily pick up a book which was about an adventure some children were having in the jungles of Africa or in the Sahara Desert, as I could pick up a comedy book, which I also really enjoyed. And I always wanted to have a go at writing a comedy book, something a little bit silly, something a little bit crazy. And where the idea came from for the Popcorn Eating Squirrels was actually a real incident. Now, I wonder if you've been thinking about writing a book or writing a story during lockdown. Perhaps you've even started one and have sat down and had a great idea. And so we have to ask ourselves, where do these ideas come from? Where do writers, professional writers such as myself, where do we get our ideas? Because without an idea, you can't have a book. Without an idea, you can't have a story. So it's an interesting theme, isn't it, to think about, where do good ideas come from? Well, the answer is they come from everywhere. You can have an idea from something that you saw. You can have an idea from something that you heard somebody say. You can have an idea from something that just clicked off in your mind in a little random moment that you thought, wow, that's a really interesting, crazy thought. Now, the squirrels, the popcorn eating squirrels, they had a really interesting beginning because it came from a real event. One of my children, I've got 5 children, had a party, and during the course of that party in the garden they spilled some popcorn, and the very next morning as I was looking out of the window I saw a squirrel coming down out of the tree, a little tiny fluffy squirrel, quite a young one, I think, a juvenile, and it came out of the tree. It started sniffing around the popcorn, and I thought, surely that squirrel's not going to eat that popcorn. And he did. He started eating it, and I never would have believed that a squirrel could be interested in popcorn, but he must have been really, really curious about it, and he absolutely loved it. And that was where the idea came from for the Popcorn Eating Squirrels. Now, how silly is that? Because in that moment I thought, yes, what a great idea. I mean, you may have heard of the Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course, what they actually loved was pizza. And so I thought, well, if the Mutant Ninja Turtles can like pizza, then I can invent the popcorn eating squirrels. And that's where the idea came from. Now, I did also have a bit of history, if you like, with the squirrel world, because I used to love squirrels when I was a young boy growing up. And in the opening of the very first book in the Popcorn Eating Squirrels series, I actually wrote a little section which was describing my love for squirrels and why I'm so fascinated by them. And it's called the author's confession. The author's confession. Now, as you may know, a confession is just something where you tell the truth about something secret that's been in your life. So I thought I'd write an author's confession at the start of the Popcorn Eating Squirrel series. And here for Silly Squad, I'm going to read it out. When I was young, I really wanted to be a squirrel. I mean it, I totally did. My friends wanted to be dolphins and man-eating lions and Tyrannosaurus Rexes and so on, but me, a squirrel. 100%. I mean, what's not to like? Shiny eyes, fluffy silky fur. They zoom about the trees with athletic grace, flying between the branches with daredevil casualness. Most of all, I wanted feet that could swivel around. Did you know that squirrels' ankles can rotate through 180 degrees? That's how they can climb head first down trees. Now, why did I want feet that could swivel backwards? Well, I had a hunch it might help on the football pitch, or perhaps that it might be handy at the push-off for the 25-metre crawl. And then there's the nuts. It must be cool to be a nut eater, right? There's the macadamias and hazelnuts, the cashews and pistachios, the almonds and sweet chestnuts. Like Christmas, all year round. Yummy. Wrong. Did you know what squirrels actually eat? Morning, noon and night? Acorns. Nothing but acorns. Hundreds and thousands of acorns. And that's really what put me off being a squirrel. Have you ever tried to eat an acorn? Don't bother, they're terrible. It's like eating dried up wallpaper paste, as exciting as a cream cracker that's been hanging around in an Egyptian tomb for 101,000 years. So I gave up wanting to be a squirrel, but I didn't stop liking them. And that's how this story began. So that was the story of my early fascination with squirrels. And later, of course, the second book in the Squirrels series came along, and that was Popcorn Eating Squirrels Go Nuts on Everest. Now, Everest, as all of you in the Silly Squad readership will know, is the highest mountain in the world. And it's also a mountain that I have a special fondness for, and that is because I've climbed it. I love to climb. I've always had a bit of a taste for adventure, and I love to go to big mountains. And one year I got an opportunity to go to Mount Everest and make a film. And that was a great and very exciting opportunity. So off we went to Everest, and luckily, even though it was a very stormy, very cold and windy year, I did manage to make it to the top, which was absolutely fantastic. So that's why that book is called The Popcorn Eating Squirrels Go Nuts on Everest, because it's got lots and lots of information about Everest on it. And it's also got lots and lots of pictures and illustrations. And in the second video that I'll be doing for Silly Squad, I'll be looking at the question of illustrations. How do they get done? Who does them? Can you do them yourself if you're the author? And that will be a good opportunity for the next video. So going back to the finding a story, if you're thinking of writing a story, it could be for young people your age, it could be for a younger brother and sister, for example, or you might have a serious ambition to become the next J.K. Rowling or Roald Dahl. Well, how do you find that story? One way of doing it is to ask the question, what if? Like, for example, I could have asked, well, what if a bunch of squirrels got addicted to eating popcorn? Okay, that would be the perfect what if that would start off the adventures of the popcorn eating squirrels. And you could ask the same for famous stories. For example, you could say, what if a teenage boy got an opportunity to become a spy? And that would give you the idea for the Alex Rider series. Or you could ask yourself the question, what if a young boy suddenly got taken away from his home and got spirited off to a school for wizards? And of course that would give you the whole of the Harry Potter potential opening up there. So what if is a great question to ask yourself if you are thinking of writing a book or a story. And in the next video, I'm going to move on to a little bit more detail about the beginning, middle and end of a story, how to make that work. And in the next one, I'll also read out a chapter of the Popcorn Eating Squirrels. So I'd like to say goodbye for now. That's the first Silly Squad video update over. It's been a pleasure to say hello to you. I hope that you're fine. Be a good idea perhaps to have a little exercise. You could sit down and write down a sentence maybe. What if? And then let your imagination fly. See if you can come up with an idea that you think could become a book or a book series for young readers. So Matt Dickinson here, signing off, saying thanks for listening, and I'll give you another video update for the Silly Squad Harrow Libraries Summer Challenge shortly. Bye for now.